The top stories tonight in Y News. The National Task Force Against COVID-19 says the current rate of COVID-19 vaccinations in the country has improved despite the lack of supplies.
President Rodrigo Duterte to review the proposal to craft a new baselines law to enforce the arbitral award in the West Philippine Sea.
Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi pushes Congress to place the operations of the country's power grid back to government control. Autopsy reports show that Keith and Nolven Absalon also sustained gunshot wound.
15 elephants are on a mysterious epic journey across China.
And know the proper way to deal with a box of jellyfish sting. Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, June 10, 2021. I am William Theo.
Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the country and in other parts of the world. I'm Angelo Castro III.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am Herlene Delgado.
First in the news, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 says that the country still experiences shortage in the supply of COVID-19 vaccines. Despite this challenge, Secretary Vince Dizon says that COVID-19 vaccination rate continues to improve. Asher Kadapan Jr. will tell us why live. Asher, good evening.
Good evening, Will. All the trials and errors from the vaccination rollout in every vaccination site paved the way for the improvement of the process in getting more individuals vaccinated against COVID-19. Amid the shortage in its supply, the National Task Force Against COVID-19 explains that the LGUs have been able to efficiently utilize the available vaccines staggeredly delivered to the country. NTF Deputy Chief Implementer and Testing Czar Secretary Vince Dizon says that this contributed to the country's increasing vaccination rate.
Mas marami nang pwedeng bakunahan ng ating mga LGU at gumagaling na rin talaga ang ating mga LGU sa pagbabakuna. Kaya kampante tayo na magkaroon lang ng supply na tuloy-tuloy at madami. Talagang aabot tayo sa punto na mamimit na natin yung daily target natin.
The government targets to vaccinate 500,000 individuals per day. As of today, the daily average vaccination rate is just about 100,000. The NTF says that recently, the number has reached to almost 220,000 all in one day. As more and more vaccines are expected to arrive in the country starting this month, Secretary Dizon anticipates that they will be able to achieve the said target by July. Part of the vaccines expected to be delivered will go to local government units and private sectors.
Sa pagkakaalam ko, ngayong buwan, darating na ang Moderna, ngayong June 21. May kasamang private sector doses doon. And next month, nagsabi si Secretary Concepcion na darating sa July ang AstraZeneca for the private sector at mga LGU.
Today, the country received additional 1 million doses of Sinovac vaccines that the government bought from China, while about 2.2 million doses of Pfizer vaccines are set to arrive from COVAX facility tonight. Will?
Yes, thank you very much. Asher Kadapan Jr. reporting live. The Biden administration came up with an agreement with the U.S. vaccine makers to provide 500 million COVID-19 vaccines to 92 low-income countries as pressure arises to allow more U.S. vaccines available to poorer nations. The vaccine distribution will go through the COVAX scheme. President Biden is set to announce the plan at the Group of 7 G7 3-day summit meeting to be held in Cornwall, United Kingdom tomorrow, Philippine time.
The emergency use authorization of Pfizer-BioNTech's COVID-19 vaccine was amended last Tuesday in the Philippines, which gave the green light to inoculate Filipino minors with the Pfizer vaccine. But the health department explained that thorough studies must be conducted first before giving jabs to Filipino children. Aiko Miguel reports.
The Philippine Pediatric Society and the Pediatric Infectious Disease Society of the Philippines acknowledge that children may be vaccinated with any approved COVID-19 vaccine. But with a limited vaccine supply in the Philippines, both pediatric groups recommend that the older and more vulnerable age groups be prioritized. The same groups assert that once larger volumes of vaccine doses arrive in the country, children with comorbidities may be given precedence for vaccination. As for parents, they should seek advice from their pediatricians to assess their children's risk to COVID-19, as well as the benefits of getting vaccinated. This way, they can be assured that their children would not experience serious adverse events following immunization. According to pediatric groups, more data on the safety profile of the vaccines should be made available and considered before implementing large-scale COVID-19 vaccination among children. Health Secretary Francisco Duque III said that vaccinating minors should be thoroughly studied before implementation. The country's health chief added it is better to wait.
Lumalabas na medyo talagang limitado yung mga pag-aaral pa sa ngayon. Kaya maganda na mag-antay tayo. I think prudence dictates that we wait. We give it more time as to what the experiences are of the other countries that have boldly introduced this vaccination program even to the pediatric age group.
Filipino health and vaccine experts are also studying evidence on vaccine development from other countries, considering if the vaccines are fit for Filipinos, including children. The country's Department of Science and Technology is prepared to conduct a clinical trial on the efficacy of vaccines on children once the health department gives the go signal.
Ongoing na po yung mga pag-aaral, pero hindi po ay open na kung kinakailangan ay pag-aralan din po ito para makita natin kung ang response po ng mga ibang bansa ay katulad din po ng mga Pilipino kapag pinakunaan ang ating mga kabataan.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
President Rodrigo Duterte has received a letter of retired Supreme Court Associate Justice Francis Hardeleza suggesting the enactment of a new baseline law. According to Malacanang, the chief executive is appreciative of the suggestion. Rosalie Cos reports why.
President Rodrigo Duterte welcomes the suggestion of retired Supreme Court Associate Justice Francis Hardeleza to legislate a new Philippine baselines law. Hardeleza believes the enactment of a new baselines law is the most efficient and practical option to enforce the arbitral award won by the Philippines in its maritime dispute with China. The retired Supreme Court Justice was the Solicitor General and agent of the Philippines in the successful arbitral proceedings against China under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea.
He immediately asked that it be subjected to complete staff work, and he was very appreciative of the suggestion.
Hindi lang pananaw ng abogado ang importante dito. Pananaw natin lahat na mamamayan. Kasi importante na ano ang gagawin natin. Yun lang ang frustration namin. Na after 5 years na napanalo natin ang kaso natin, pinaghirapan ng mga mamamayan at nakatulong din tayo ng kaunti, siguro ay magsama-sama na tayo.
Malacanang said the president has directed a complete staff work on the proposed law, amending the current baselines law to name and identify the 128 maritime features in the West Philippine Sea claimed and occupied by the country.
it's subjected now to complete staff work kasi ang request is for it to be certified as urgent. And I made the additional request that if the President so agrees, then it should also be included in the SONA para malakas ang mensahe sa Kongreso na this will really become a priority bill.
However, the proposed law still depends on the Congress. Hardelesa also urged the President to certify it as urgent. It has been 5 years already when the Philippines won the arbitral award, and President Duterte has only a year left under his term. Presidential spokesperson Roque also pushes for the amendment of the baselines law.
Isa sa pinakamalakas na ebidensya ng soberenya ay yung batas na kumbaga didikit sa Kalayaan Group of Islands sa teritoryo ng Pilipinas sa pamamaraan na sang-ayon po sa UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
The palace official also would suggest to President Duterte to include the measure in his next State of the Nation address. Rosa Licoz, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi calls for a review of the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines, or NGCP's congressional franchise. This, as the energy chief noted in today's Senate Committee on Energy hearing, that the power outages during the summer season is not a power crisis, but a compliance issue. Cusi pointed out the NGCP's failure to comply with firm contracting of ancillary services for power reserves. He also cited the delayed implementation of transmission projects over the years, which hampered the transmission of stranded power supply from the Visayas and Mindanao grids to Luzon grid. The secretary also proposes to revert the system operations of the country's power grid back to the government's control.
DOE is the face of the industry. Sampal-sampalin na po kami sa kasalanan ng iba. Pero eto, yan. A good example is that available reserve, available power plant that can be tapped to augment the situation. But they are not supplying. Why? Simple reason, they have not contracted the reserve. As early as January 2017, we have started communicating with NGCP to address the reserve requirements of the grid. Unfortunately, up to now, more than 4 years, this remain a major problem. But yun pong aming panawagan, hindi po narinig ng publiko, hindi po pinakinggan.
The basic premise is energy security is a governmental function. Kasi po, alam naman natin, NGCP, when they get the concession, ang nasa unahan po niyan is profit yung mandate. Nothing wrong with that. Pero ito po kasi, itong reserve, iba, wala pong profit dito yung system operator
In response, the NGCP said they did what they could do to inform the DOE and other stakeholders on the yellow and red alert status in the Luzon grid. NGCP President Anthony Almeida also questioned the alleged hand-washing and finger-pointing of the Energy Department when it comes to power supply issues, reiterating that the NGCP is not in charge of generating power. The corporation also noted that shifting from the usual non-firm to firm contracts for the power reserves might result to increase in power rates for the consumers.
NGCP has constantly been bullied not just over the past couple of days, but in the past years, being used as the scapegoat, the easy target to blame for the issue. We were blamed for not contracting enough ancillary service, as if it is the solution to the problem. To put it on record, NGCP has 100% contracted a healthy mix of firm and non-firm ancillary service contracts.
Despite this, the NGCP vowed to look for solutions to DOE's concerns. Senate Committee on Energy Chairperson Sherwin Gatchalian estimated an economic loss of 116 million pesos during the two-day rotational brownout in Luzon for the 700,000 affected household consumers of Meralco alone. The Department of Energy has sought the help of the Departments of Justice, National Bureau of Investigation, Philippine Competition Commission, and the Energy Regulatory Commission to investigate whether there was a possible collusion among power producers. According to the ERC, 32 generation companies have submitted their explanation. The DOE added that there is no red alert status so far in the Luzon grid, citing the decrease in demand due to cooler conditions.
Although there is an indication that there remains a possibility of red alert for this week, we are happy to note po na wala po tayong red alert because yung pong ating mga system ay nakabalik na ang at least 2 planta. Nag-expect po kami ng additional planta papasok.
The Senate Committee on Energy will conduct another hearing to tackle other pressing issues on the energy industry. For those watching our 24/7 live streaming on YouTube, please click the subscribe button you see on your screen and ring the bell for notification. You may also follow us on Facebook.
An autopsy obtained by UNTV found that football athlete Keith Absalon and his cousin Nolvin, who died in a blast in Masbate City on June 6, also sustained gunshot wounds. The Armed Forces of the Philippines urged the Communist Party of the Philippines and the New People's Army to surrender their troops who were responsible for the said attack. Leah Ilagan reports.
Forces of the Philippines spokesperson Major General Edgar Darevalo was dismayed on the statement of the CPP-NPA that they will reprimand their members that are responsible in the blast in Masbate last Sunday that killed Keith and Nolvin Absalon. Arevalo said the apology and indemnification for the family of the victim is not enough.
Isuko nila itong mga involved sa pagpatay na ito, sa murder na ito, at hindi lamang ito dapat hihinto sa mga mismong nagpasabog nito, kundi sa kanyang mga pinuno.
Keith and Nolven died from a landmine explosion while biking in their hometown in Purok 4, Barangay Anas, Masbate City. However, based on the autopsy report obtained by UNTV, Keith also sustained a gunshot wound on the right eye, while Nolven sustained a gunshot wound on the right shoulder blade and on the left lateral distal thigh. The report further confirmed that Keith died of hemorrhagic shock secondary to gunshot wound and blast injuries, while Nolven's death was caused mainly by hemorrhagic shock from the gunshot wound he sustained. Arevalo says the CPP-NPA should surrender their members to be held accountable under the country's laws.
Sa revised penal code, it's a crime of murder. Ito ay paglabag din sa anti-terrorism law. And again, yung binabanggit natin kanina, Republic Act 9851 or an act defining and penalizing violations of international law, genocide, and other crimes against humanity.
Pursuit operations are still ongoing against the perpetrators, and the AFP promised that they will not stop until justice is served. Leah Ilagan, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and the United Nations, or UN, have signed a strategic plan to protect children in armed conflict. In a statement, AFP Chief General Cirilito Sobrejana said the AFP shall ensure to maintain professionalism and discipline in conducting daily operations. He also said the AFP will aim to strengthen the protection of children in armed conflict and prevent grave child rights violations. Under the strategic plan to prevent and respond to grave child rights violations in situations of armed conflict, the AFP should fully comply with the obligations under international human rights law and international humanitarian law.
President Rodrigo Duterte is not yet closing his doors to a possible vice presidential bid in the 2022 elections. However, according to a political science expert, this could result into a political crisis. Meanwhile, the president's ruling party is open to endorse an outsider candidate for the highest position in government. Nel Marie Buhok reports why.
President Rodrigo Duterte should not run as vice president in the coming 2022 national elections, according to political science professor Dennis Coronacion. According to Coronacion, if President Duterte will eventually win the elections, this is against the 1987 Constitution and also may result to a political crisis.
Ang mangyayari, is going to put our political system in a crisis. What do I mean by that? Kasi the design of our system, following the provisions of the Constitution, says that once you become president, you're not supposed to be a president anymore for the second time.
The University of Santo Tomas professor is referring to the provision of the Constitution stating that the president is not eligible for any re-election. He said there is a chance that President Duterte may become president for the second time.
Just in case ma-impeach yung presidente niya or mamatay or magkaroon ng permanent disability or mag-resign. So it would really put him a step closer dun sa presidency.
Also, according to Coronacion, the alleged plan of the president to run again in the second highest position of the government may leave bad impression to the public.
You know, the only valid reason for doing that is that parang he has an unfinished business. Meron pa siyang gusto pang gawin sa bayan at gusto niya muli maging presidente. Pero in the absence of such profound reason, if pag hinalaan ka na ng mga tao, baka naman you only want to run or to get another chance na sa highest political position just because either you want to protect yourself from suits and mga cases.
However, according to presidential spokesperson Harry Roque, there is no legal hurdle on the issue. Roque added that the president is not yet saying no to the position.
When the president's words are clear, I don't have to construe or interpret. He is resisting. That is the word used. No? Ayaw po niya. Pero hindi pa naman niya sinasabing hindi.
Meanwhile, Secretary to the Cabinet Carlo Nograles, a PDP Laban National Council member, said they are open to endorse other candidates outside their political party.
If possibilities lang din pinag-uusapan, there are parties, apart from PDP Laban, who also have guest candidates. Kung sang-ayon naman ng partido mag-guest candidate, pwede naman po. Kung sang-ayon naman ng partido na mag-endorse ng hindi ka-partido for whatever position, pwede naman po. Whether it's for president or for vice president or for senate.
Nel Marie Buhok, UNTV News and Rescue, we serve the people, we give glory to God.
Opposition coalition Ismael Bayan will reveal the final list of nominees for president and other national candidates on June 12. However, a political analyst says this move could get them into trouble. Dante Amento tells us why.
Political analyst Ramon Casiple criticizes the move made by the Isang-Bayan coalition by revealing the names of some of their presidential and vice presidential bets. Casiple explains this will probably result to denial or withdrawal of those personalities being named.
Bakit kayo nagtukoy ng mga pangalan? Paano kung yung mga yan ay hindi naman tatakbo o kaya may ibang posisyon na gustong takbuhan? Di nakagulo. Kaysa naging simple yung usapin na may lumitaw na kandidato, suportahan ninyo, ang nangyari, inunahan nyo.
Casiple adds Isang-Bayan should not participate in the decision-making on who will be in the final list of candidates to run in the upcoming elections. One of the names mentioned by the group is Manila City Mayor Isko Moreno Dumagoso. But when asked if Isang-Bayan was able to talk to him on the issue, Dumagoso declined to answer.
Pagbigyan nyo na, mga ilang buwan na lang naman eh. Wala namang makakatanggi ng politiko by the time ng August o September eh. Wala na, puro question of politics na yan, di ba?
The Isang-Bayan, on the other hand, clarifies it is the people who will choose their nominees. Its members will not favor any one of the nominees, and that different parties are welcome to make an alliance with them.
And we will give to the people, the Filipino people, including the
the nominees or the candidates a transparent and accountable process so that walang magsasabing one favors the other.
Calleja assures they will have to give good governance and bring back the rights and morale which are allegedly spared from the Filipino citizens.
Nagbibigay po tayo ng magandang balita, magandang let's say hope or pag-asa sa taong bayan. Kung yun ang gusto nilang pasabog, siguro yun po ibibigay ng isang bayan dahil po we are giving sabi ko nga, June 12 is the start for us to regain our freedoms back, our civil liberties, our morality as a country.
Dante Amento, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
In other news, a group of motorists and some drivers attest to the improvements in the traffic situations in Metro Manila, particularly in EDSA. Asher Kadapan Jr. details why.
Some motorists back President Rodrigo Duterte's claim that the heavy traffic being experienced in EDSA has improved under his administration. Former COMELEC Commissioner and now Automobile Association Philippine President Augusto Lagman says that the Metro Manila Skyway Stage 3 and other infrastructure projects of the government have significantly alleviated the heavy traffic being experienced in EDSA.
Yung Skyway connecting SLEX to NLEX, nasubukan ko na yun, ang laki ng tulong, no? So in fairness to yung completion noon, yung pagbubukas noon, was a big help.
Some taxi drivers also attest to the easing traffic in Metro Manila compared to the previous administration.
Okay na sir, maluwag naman. Hindi na kagaya nung araw. Nababawas na naman ang sasakyan.
Masikip noon kesa ngayon kasi bawas nga yung mga bus, may sarili na silang linya, yung mga EDSA carousel, wala na sila hindi na sila spread ng tumakbo. Meron silang sariling linya. Oo. Medyo maluwag.
The Metropolitan Manila Development Authority attributes all these to the infrastructure projects and implementations during the Duterte's administration. MMDA Chairman Benjamin Benhar Abalos Jr. says that this is primarily due to the Skyway projects connecting the North and South Luzon expressways. The MMDA estimates 25% or more than 100,000 vehicles that will be diverted from EDSA to the said road projects.
Talagang malaki ang pinagbago ng EDSA. Number one, ang contributors dito, the main factor is the NLEX and the SLEX, no, connectors, no. So marami na ang dumadaan doon if you're coming from the north or south. You can now bypass EDSA.
MMDA EDSA traffic czar Edison Bong Nebrija, on the other hand, explains that the rationalization of routes in Metro Manila also significantly helped ease the heavy traffic in the capital region. Aside from this, the EDSA carousel or busway route controlled the passenger buses plying in the major thoroughfare, which also contributed to the lighter traffic. The opening of bridges connecting cities of Makati and Mandaluyong as well as Pasig and Taguig are also expected to help ease the traffic in EDSA.
So before, yung mga commuters natin with that kind of setup na nasa kanan yung bus, labo-labo, inaabot tayo ng 3 oras hanggang 3 oras kalahati ang travel time from Monumento to MOA. But with this EDSA carousel route, Monumento to MOA will only take you 1 hour and a half to 2 hours. So that's a big improvement in mass public transport commuting.
More private commuters are also expected to switch to public commuting with the opening of Light Rail Transit Line 2 being extended to Marikina and Antipolo City in Rizal Province, Metro Rail Transit Line 7 connecting Quezon City and San Jose del Monte City in Bulacan via Commonwealth Avenue, and the continuous improvements and extensions in the Philippine National Railways. The MMDA, on their part, has been making improvements in the ferry service as another option in public commuting in the metropolis. Although heavy traffic may still be experienced during rush hour, the MMDA explains that its duration has shortened. The MMDA, however, appeals to motorists to maintain discipline and adhere to the traffic laws. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad,
Two organizations linked to Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny have been declared to be extremists by a Russian court. Joselito Liquido will tell us why live. Yes, Joselito, please go ahead.
Real members of Navalny's regional political offices and Anti-Corruption Foundation are no longer eligible to run in the upcoming Russian election after Tuesday's ruling, which forced the two groups to shut down and disband. The foundation, known as FBK, was ordered by the court to be liquidated and its property transferred into ownership of the Russian Federation. Prior to disbandment, the foundation carried out high-profile investigation into alleged corruption in Russia. Activities of Navalny's regional political offices have also been banned, which include mobilizing anti-Kremlin protests in the past. Both groups, however, are denying the allegations and their lawyers will be appealing the decisions. The U.S. State Department criticized the ruling, with spokesperson Ned Price stating that Russia has criminalized one of the few remaining independent political movements in the country. Muriel?
Thank you, Joselito, for that live report. Israel's president appealed to Prince Charles to help bring to Israel a 2-year-old girl or Israeli girl with a serious brain injury. Paul Gatchalian will tell us why live. Yes, Paul, good evening.
Mariel, the father of a 2-year-old Israeli girl who has been in a hospital in Britain with a serious brain injury since birth, pleaded to be allowed to take his daughter to Israel after a UK court ruled her life-sustaining care should be withdrawn. In May, a judge ruled that Manchester doctors could put the 2-year-old Otto Fixler into a palliative care as she cannot breathe, eat, or drink without medical assistance. In its decision, the court found that no action could improve Otto's condition and that the transfer procedure itself could cause her suffering. However, her parents had been firm that their Jewish faith is completely against the ruling of seizing the support that can potentially extend their daughter's life. In a letter, Israeli President Reuven Rivlin urged Prince Charles to help to fulfill Otto's parents' request to bring her to Israel. A spokesperson for the prince said they do not comment on private correspondence. Back to you, Mariel.
All right, Paul, thank you for that live report. A herd of elephants are now becoming international stars as they embark on a journey crossing Chinese cities. However, it is still a mystery where they are going. Earl Briones reports why.
15 Asian elephants have been lumbering its way across China for more than a year, traveling more than 300 miles through villages, forest patches, and as of Wednesday, the group is now in the city of Kunming in southwestern Yunnan province. For more than a week, the herd have devoured truckloads of corn and pineapples left out by government officials in an effort to divert them to less populated areas, and then continued on their way. Although millions were captivated in China as they tuned in to live streams of the elephants, the new international stars have caused more than $1.1 million of damage. It's not clear what spurred the elephants to leave their home. Scientists say this is the furthest any of the wild elephants there have traveled from the habitat. Asian elephants are considered a protected species in China, and around 300 of them lived in Yunnan. Early Briones, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Mariel Latoza, live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
The clinical trial aimed at looking into the effectiveness of virgin coconut oil, or VCO, as an adjunct therapy for hospitalized COVID-19 patients is expected to be completed this month. However, health officials cannot confirm yet whether VCO can treat severe COVID-19 patients. Janice Ingente will tell us why.
The community-based clinical trials on virgin coconut oil as treatment for COVID-19 has gained positive feedbacks from mild and non-severe patients. The tests were conducted at the Santa Rosa Community Hospital in Laguna. However, according to Jaime Montoya, Executive Director of DOST Philippine Council for Health Research and Development, Further studies are still needed to determine whether the VCO will also be effective in severe COVID-19 cases.
Nakatulong po to para mas mabilis mawala yung mga simptomas at hindi sila lumala at maging severe disease. So tayo po ay natutuwa sa resulta at ito po ay natatanggap na po ng International Journal of Functional Foods. Ang katunayan na kinikilala ni resulta ng pag-aaral na ito. Bagamat ang sinasabi ko nga ay para ito ay gamitin talaga ng mas malawakan, kailangan po tinampan natin to sa iba pang mga indikasyon.
The DOST announced that the clinical trial will end this month. Then, they will submit the study result to the Food and Drug Administration to officially include other indications on the use of VCO as a treatment of COVID-19 symptoms. Meanwhile, Montoya clarified that the VCO cannot be compared with COVID-19 vaccines in terms of benefits.
Kailangan po linawin natin magkaiba po yan. Ang bakuna po ay ibinibigay sa mga wala pang sakit at ibinibigay yan para hindi sila magkasakit. Ang BCO po ay sa kasalukuyan pinag-aaralan natin kung may katutulong siya sa paggaling kaagad ng mga mayroon ng COVID-19. So hindi po yan pareho. Ang pagbabakuna ay mahalaga at kailangan itaguyod at gawin.
He reiterated that the public still needs to get vaccinated to protect themselves from COVID-19. Janice Hente, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Another 7,485 more people nationwide caught the coronavirus disease. The country's COVID-19 tally climbed to 1,293,687, wherein 4.4% or 56,921 cases are still active. Of the currently ill patients, 92.6% experience mild symptoms, 3.2% are asymptomatic, 1.3% are critical cases, 1.7% have severe conditions, and 1.18% are moderate cases. The DOH also confirmed 122 more deaths, bringing the death toll to 22,312. It was also shown in the latest case bulletin that 4,504 more survivors were logged, raising the number of recoveries to 1,214,454. This represents 93.9% of the overall case tally.
Jellyfish sightings in beach resorts have increased in the recent weeks due to the hot weather. But authorities warn that some jellyfish stings can kill a person when not treated properly. Ray Pelayo will give us some first aid tips.
A 7-year-old girl in Del Gallego, Camarines Sur died after she was stung by a box jellyfish on June 6. The victim was swimming on a beach resort with her relatives when a jellyfish latched onto her leg and foot. A box jellyfish venom is considered to be among the most deadly in the world, and its poison can kill a person in just 15 minutes. Here's what you can do when stung by a box jellyfish. Wash the affected body part with vinegar and avoid applying pressure to affected areas, as this can make things worse. Then bring the patient immediately to the nearest health facility for the proper treatment.
Yung nangyari nga po doon kay Rian sa latest na victim po ng box jellyfish, parang mas nadagdagan pa yun ng pressure sa paraan ng pagpuspos ng buhangin doon sa affected body parts niya. So baka po nakapagpalala yun or baka nakapag-release pa ng mas maraming lason.
The BFAR advises beach swimmers to wear long suits like full rash guards. For resort owners, it would be better to install nets to stop the jellyfish in entering the swimming area. Ray Pelayo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
A new MMDA mobile facility will go around Metro Manila in the coming days. JP Nunez tells us why.
To promote proper waste segregation among residents in Metro Manila, the MMDA launched its materials recovery facility this morning in Pateros. It is a vehicle converted into the now MMDA facility which carries grocery items to barangays in Metro Manila to be traded for recyclable waste materials. About 40 residents from Barangay Santo Rosario in Pateros participated in the launch. Romelyn Banaag was among them. For 2 weeks, Romelyn collected recyclable waste materials. She came to the facility launching and went home with food items.
Dapat nga po halos lahat mag-participate kasi maganda po yun. Para yung kalat hinahakot ng truck, mabawasan. Tapos yung pagtatapon sa mga maalis din para yung hindi magbara sa mga sa ilog. Yung hindi, kasi nagiging din yun pag di ba babalik din sa'yo yan, yung mga tinapon mo sa ilog, babalik din sa'yo yan pag bumaha, pag nagkaroon ng bagyo.
Pateros Mayor Miguel Ponce explains that the project is timely as the rainy season is just around the corner. Proper waste disposal is key to avoid clogging of drainage, preventing flood.
Actually kami ay nasa kaigtingan nung pagpapalunsad namin ng programa ng garbage segregation dahil nga tinatiming namin ito darating yung tag-ulan, kaya napakaganda at tingin ko magiging napaka-epektibo nung ginagawa natin ito dahil kasi ito ay dagdag na motivasyon dagdag na insentibo para sa ating mga kababayan.
MMDA Chairman Benher Abeles Jr. plans to promote mobile materials recovery facility in the various cities of Metro Manila to strengthen their campaign to promote proper garbage disposal.
Yes, iikot namin ito sa lahat, dahil ang laking bagay, number one, ito'y para sa awareness ng tao na ang basura ay may value. And number two, also for discipline. I think we should reach that level na wag tayo magtapon ng basura sa maling lugar at wag tayo magtapon ng wala sa oras at higit sa lahat, kung maaaring wag ka na magtapon, i-recycle mo na para zero na.
The recyclable waste materials the MMDA can collect through the mobile facility will be brought to its private partners to convert into useful materials like plastic chairs and eco bricks, while glass bottles, paper, and other recyclable materials will be sold to junk shops. JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
And before we close, we will leave you with a final word, giving glory to God. From the book of Proverbs, chapter 27, verse 1. It says, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth." And those are the reasons behind the news, June 10, 2021. I am Herlene Delgado.
Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold, Evangelio Castro III.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.